It's about that time again. The JRU Hub has poked his head out again, and it's about time that we remind them we're still here and we're still keeping an eye on you. Okay, so I have something new I want to talk about briefly. Just a reminder, specifically for the JRU Hub people out there, because I was notified about this tweet. Just because one person might be taking a break doesn't mean that we're all suddenly stopping keeping our eyes open. So you making a post like this is gonna poke the beehive. The minute I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, so it's about that time for a new JRU video. Cool. Awesome. For those of you who do know me, I'm somebody who likes to keep an eye on the JRU Hub accounts from time to time, because let's be honest, if you don't keep an eye on these motherfuckers, they keep on trying to scam people. People are well aware of the JRU Hub, I would hope, at this point. It's been going on for the last couple months. So why are we talking about this? Because one of the JRU Hub brokers decided to make a comment, and, well, yeah. Thanks God, finally, see you and stay healthy. They're celebrating the fact that somebody's going on hiatus who, warns people about these predatory practices. Well, yeah, not everybody's on hiatus. The reason this is such a big deal, and kind of amusing to me more than anything, is it's been a little bit since the dust cleared on the last drama with JRU. They got outed. There was the changes to the VGEN terms of service and that kind of stuff. And so I think they're starting to get a little, bold and brazen, because they think that, we've moved on, and we haven't. We're still here. We're still watching you. And we will catch you in the act whenever you are looking to find new clients. Oh, I'm sorry, new scam victims. So can this art raffle be trusted? Now, what's funny about this is the whole reason this account was created was because there was an influx of JRU Hub people and other brokers, not just JRU Hub, doing a bunch of art raffles. The account was created in response to the constant influx of art raffles from JRU Hub and related Indonesian broker accounts. They point out any art raffle from Indonesia, and if they're suspected or known to be with JRU, AI tracing, that kind of thing. It's more along the lines of, if it's something that we notice that you're doing and we've confirmed that you're a broker, we're going to warn people. So there's also Ethical Artist Hub. An Ethical Artist Hub is essentially the Discord in which we keep track of who the artists out there that either are confirmed brokers, confirmed fake artists, or if they're legitimate artists. It is a rigorous process that the people that are working on these Discords do, and there's a lot of investigation that goes towards it. There's a lot of checking notes and making sure that, they're not just picking a random name and saying this person is a broker. That's not how that works. But Ethical likes to go and do these call outs, essentially. But what they'll do, which is so fantastic, and I love this, is whenever there's a confirmed broker, they will get an idea of where they are, if it's Fiverr, if it's Instagram, if it's VGEN, and they'll do a transparency registry update. Just letting people know, hey, this person is a broker. Hey, this person is a studio. Hey, this person, is shady and sus. Maybe look into it. They'll go through and they'll just list whenever they have these things, and it's great. It's fantastic. I love seeing these. And the thing is, we as clients, if we can't rely on VGEN to look out for us, we might as well look out for each other. And that's something that I do see the community doing a lot of. I mean, these two particular accounts that came out, both were done in response to all of the shit that was being discovered back in the beginning of the year when this first came to light. So there are people who are trying to share that information with the public so that way this stuff doesn't continue happening, because the biggest reason this company is able to keep finding new clients, because they keep manipulating people, because they keep lying, they keep stealing their actual artist work. They're con artists. At the end of the day, they're con artists, and as long as you keep giving con artists your money and giving them business, they're gonna keep doing it. So like I've said before in the past, there's a lot of these JRU Hub brokers. There's a lot that we still don't know about. There's a lot that we're still looking into, specifically on VGEN and other places. And since VGEN was the site that I came across them, that's pretty much the one that I keep an eye on. I don't do anything on Instagram. I don't do anything on Fiverr or anything like that, but they do exist there too. So if you see a name that looks familiar on either Fiverr or Facebook or Instagram or VGEN or any other site in which it strikes some red flags, take a look into it, because it's probably there for a reason. And these are all of the JRU Hub brokers that we already know about. So JRU Hub is an Indonesian business community and broker studio, often associated with creative services such as 3D modeling, animation, and illustration. It operates as a network of studios, or I guess what they call themselves, circles, and that provides training and mentorship to young, often inexperienced workers, they're artists, they're illustrators, particularly vocational school graduates. However, the entity has faced significant criticism within the art community, with reports alleging the exploitation of workers and artists. And it's something that we've already confirmed is happening. So key aspects to keep an eye out for JRU Hub. Operation structure. They act as a broker studio managing several smaller studios called circles. Allegations of exploitation. Reports indicate the JRU Hub has underpaid freelance artists and young workers, sometimes as little as 1.5 of their currency, which amounts out to about less than $1,000 in US dollars per month, while setting work at a much higher pace. This is the discrepancy between what the artists are actually getting and what the brokers are collecting. Unfair business practices. Critics allege that the studio uses AI-generated images and ads to represent high-quality 3D art. Some reports claim that contest winners were forced to pay for services to claim for their prize. So you'll see people that will say, oh, well, you won this raffle, but actually I need to redo the art to make the rigging work. The rigging is the free prize, but I need you to pay me to redo the art. It's a bait and switch, and they're notorious for this. Mentorship model. The community emphasizes project-based learning and mentor support, which some critics describe as a way to control young artists and encourage them to work for low wages by framing it as a learning experience. And part of the allegations are that they discourage their own artists, their young artists. Don't bother going to school. Don't bother going to college. You're learning everything you need to know now because we want to keep you, well trained, and it's what you come to expect. Controversy and public response. The studio has received widespread criticism for its treatment of Indonesian artists, with many online users urging to block accounts and avoid their raffles. So we're all pretty familiar with what JRU Hub is. We're pretty familiar with the allegations that have been tied to them. And of course, they strive to claim that this is all a lie. The clients are exaggerating. The artists are wrong. They're not the bad guys, when in actuality, they are. Their own evidence speaks mountains for it. And we've already done videos about this in the past, so I'm not going to go over that again. But I want you to take a listen. This is a video. It's a snippet. It's not the whole thing because I don't have access to the whole translated snippet. There was a PR video that they were trying to do, and I'm just gonna let it play and we're gonna talk about it for a minute here.
Ke Mas Isal nih, ini menarik Mas yang dibilang masuk rumah sakit jiwa dan lain sebagainya. Mungkin Mas Isal yang mungkin lebih ngerti soal homeschooling dan lain sebagainya. Kita tahu bahwa mental health issue yang dialami para Gen Z ini tuh menjadi sebuah yang digembar-gemborkan.
Okay, so did you catch that? They're essentially talking about allegations about their Gen Z workers having mental health issues and stuff, whether that's where they're being admitted into hospitals or whether they're needing to seek care, for stress and burnout and stuff like that. And essentially what they're saying is, well, Gen Z is exaggerating.
Ya, enggak sewaktu kita dulu pun.
And then we go on to say, back in our day, this wasn't that serious, because remember, these are look at these fucking faces, okay? Now, this is okay, here's the thing. I'm 40 plus years old. I know what they're about to do. They're about to basically say, well, people that are younger than us don't understand what it was like. That's not how the world is. No, 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 no.
Nggak sekelar ini gitu loh. Nah, apa
So the question is, were they influenced? Implying Gen Z was influenced to accuse them of exploitation. So this interview is basically talking about, well, there's a lot of bad talk about JRU. So what they're asking is do you think Gen Z is making it up? Do you think Gen Z is exaggerating the problems that they're having and blaming it on JRU Hub?
apakah hal-hal ini juga yang bisa mempengaruhi, jadi kesannya tuh mental health issue tuh kayak sebuah tren, sehingga kalau dia tuh kena mental health tuh jadi sebuah kayak apa ya, wah kok ini keren penyakitnya apa dan lain sebagainya, dan ini yang akhirnya mungkin terjadi dengan berbagai macam faktor. Nah dilalah dia juga belum siap untuk kemudian dicemplungin.
Okay, so what they're basically saying is, oh no, they came with some of these problems and they're just blaming it on JRU Hub. That they're basically, I mean, the translation speaks for itself, you know.
Ke JRU, sehingga akhirnya JRU ini menjadi kayak pemicu, wah ini pasti gara-gara ini nih akhirnya di blow up. Menurut Mas Isal ada kayak gitunya nggak sih?
Ya, aku setuju bahwa sejak teknologi informasi ini makin berkembang kan semua informasi jadi mudah diakses ya. Jadi hal-hal yang belum tentu atau belum tepat saatnya aja sepertinya sudah bisa digunakan oleh anak.
Motherfucker over here like, I hope you're believing us because we're doing such a good job of bullshitting this.
Anak remaja sekarang, mereka merasa mereka mental health atau punya sakit yang lain-lain, padahal bisa jadi itu hanya asumsinya dia. Pertama itu. Lalu kalau memang itu memang dibawa ke pihak medis dan memang dinyatakan bahwa dia punya gangguan itu atau punya penyakit itu, tadi aku setuju sama Mas Akbar, kalau memang pihak dari studio atau pihak dia belajar menjadi satu-satunya, ya pasti kami akan bertanggung jawab. Karena kenyataannya anak-anak yang sekarang datang ke tempat kami adalah anak-anak yang memang butuh wadah, butuh tempat, atau minimal mereka butuh sedulur, orang-orang yang...
Okay, so now they're basically saying like, no, we're providing a safe space for them. These are young artists that sometimes they don't have anywhere else to go, and like we're not over there, so we can't really say that that's true or not. But that's not what the problem people have are. The accusation is like the overworked artists that they're having and the pay that they're having. But that's kind of how they get people in the door, is they promise them, you know, this job opportunity, and they promise them, you know, that they'll have this employment. But really, it's a bait and switch of what they're expecting and what they're getting and how they're being worked to so much exhaustion that...
yang mau mendengarkan dia, di mana bisa jadi di rumah dia tidak dapat itu. Makanya banyak anak-anak masih di tempat kami belajar selama sekian bulan, karena kami kan biasanya live in, mondok, tinggal di rumah bareng-bareng. Disuruh pulang ya nggak mau pulang. Kenapa? Mereka tuh betah di tempat kami. Mereka ngerasa.
Okay, so now they're trying to swip it and say like, no, we're a safe place for artists. No, they don't want to go home. They don't want to go home because the home is bad. Like, for those of you who are familiar with the Stockholm syndrome, you know, that's what that sounds like to me.
Mereka dapat wadah kalau mereka datang ke rumahnya lagi, atau bukan rumahnya secara benar-benar nggak mendidik, pasti rumahnya menjaga dia. Lingkungannya, dia tidak menemukan teman-teman di lingkungan belajarnya dia yang relevan sama apa yang sedang dia pelajari di studio atau tempat dia belajar hari ini. Jadi problemnya adalah kadang-kadang kita sebagai orang tua nggak sempat ruang untuk itu pun juga evaluasi kita sebagai orang tua. Terus ketika anak-anak nggak punya wadah, mereka akhirnya berdialog dengan orang-orang yang tidak kenal di sosial media, yang memberikan informasi atau mereka dapat informasi yang tidak terkontrol atau tidak terseleksi, karena saking bebasnya informasi masuk ke rumah kita kan, akhirnya mereka berasumsi dengan pikiran-pikiran yang mereka anggap benar, padahal itu butuh dikonfirmasi oleh pihak orang yang lebih tua atau pihak yang memang tidak punya kepentingan sama dia. Karena yang bahaya adalah remaja-remaja sekarang ketika kenalan sama orang yang tidak dikenal, itu tuh sudah banyak informasinya anak-anak yang bermasalah seperti itu.
So there's the meme that came around, you know, what would get you in this position, right? And my take on this was, your artist is a broker scammer. them, but they never scammed me, because I know a lot of people who can relate to that, because the thing is a lot of clients didn't realize that you're not the victim in the scam. The person who made your art, the person who made your model, that's the victim in the scam. You are inadvertently participating in the scam by paying for the scam. You are paying for the scam is what you're doing as a client. And so the purpose of these videos is to inform other VTubers and other people, be careful who you're giving your money to, because you might be funding a scam. Keep in mind the way they work. They have brokers, which are your admins, your supervisors, your bosses, basically. And they're the ones who speak to the clients. They're the ones who make sure that they have commissions coming in, and they know how many commissions are coming in a month. And then they have their illustrators and they have their artists do all the work, and they'll have their artists work on multiple pieces at once. They'll have their illustrators work on multiple pieces at once, and they have these people being overworked, and then they're going to the clients and saying, I did this. It's the same thing that happened with Mikozen. They presented themselves as they were this artist that was doing it all themselves, but they weren't. They were a broker. They were not an actual artist. And when they were finally caught, they then tried to backtrack and say, well, they're a studio, they hired people. And that wasn't the case either. They're a broker. They're somebody who manages artists and illustrators below them, but per VGEN's rules, they're supposed to be listing the artists that work for them, and they don't. And that's something that JRU Hub is notorious for, because of course they don't want you to know who their actual artists are, because then they can't claim to be those artists. And then of course, you know, VGEN over here is well aware of what's been going on, but of course hasn't done anything about it. There was an influx of clients that were, you know, putting in tickets and complaints when this was first discovered again in January, because again, this was discussed back in last year in the summer 2025, and you know, they didn't really do much about it then either, apparently. But then it came up again and it was being discussed again, and they were getting more pressure, so VGEN changed their terms of service. But they didn't do anything to compensate any of the clients that had been caught up in this scam and had been manipulated and had signed these terms of service based on, you know, fraudulent misrepresentations of what they thought they were getting, you know, because it's your fault for not knowing what a broker is, you know, and it's fuck VGEN, you know. You have, you know, unhappy clients, terms of service changes, artists ghosting clients, art bots, broker scammers, fake studios, and VGEN being like, this is fine, you know. So I made this meme in relation to everything that was going on when we had brought these allegations and these problems to VGEN, and VGEN was like, we're looking into this, we're taking this so seriously, and then nothing came out of it. And the people who did hear responses were like, well, if it's within 120 days and it's confirmed that they were a studio or a broker, we'll go ahead and refund you. Well, what about the people who it's been outside of the 120 days because they didn't know because they had gotten these commissions 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, because the VGEN just never vetted their own artists, even though they're supposed to be a secure place for artists. They're not. So the biggest thing to keep in mind about all is that they are going to continue trying to get new clients. Whenever people are aware of this, whenever people kind of push back on it and realize that the person they're giving their money to is a broker and not an actual artist, they're gonna ramp up their attempt to find new gullible people, new raffles, new giveaways, new special deals and stuff. So you want to keep an eye on those when those come out, because chances are they're not actually an artist, they're a broker, and they're hoping that you are so enthralled with the chance of possibly getting a free model that you don't realize that you're paying for a scam. And even then, you might not actually win the supposed raffle, but now they have you interested enough to slide into your DMs and say, hey, I know you didn't win, but here's a discount for your next commission with me because you're so special, and we want you to continue paying for these scams.